Welcome to Palace Penguins United Big Book Study. This week, I'm pleased to introduce Max to continue with a big book study. Over to you, Max.
Thank you so much, Lois, for your service, to Angie, to everybody in the background that makes this meeting happen. Thank you for your service. My name is Max, and I'm an alcoholic. Drugs are part of my story too. As it says in the preamble, one addiction leads to another. Isn't that the truth? So yeah, welcome anybody that's come to this meeting for the first time. Before the meeting started, I heard a couple of people have a conversation that this is their first time with this group. This group meets 6 days a week. This morning is their big book study that starts at 8, but all other meetings start at 7:15 a.m. with a different theme and topic every day. This group of Powerless Penguins have an incredible attitude towards service and helping the still sick and suffering alcoholic. It's quite phenomenal, and this group has 100% changed my life. To be given the opportunity to do this book study every Saturday is the bright spark of my weekend, that's for sure. And it keeps me tuned into what's going on in my life. It keeps me tuned into my step 10, 11 and 12. So I thank you so much for that. So we're still in We Agnostics, this absolutely phenomenal chapter. I call it the treasure trove because it just keeps on giving gems after gems after gems, precious, precious gems as to why one should come to believe that this power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. You know, this step 2 that we read on page 59 in chapter 5, how it works. The steps are listed there in the short form, of course, and it simply just says, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves can restore us to sanity. You know, it doesn't say in that step, you must believe in God now. It says that we came to believe that. And I understand that this book was written 90 years ago, and I understand that they're writing their experience in the past tense, that they did come to believe that. But the way that I look at this chapter as well is that at some point through this 12-step process, I also came to believe that there is a power that could restore me to sanity. With regards to my addiction, I can't necessarily tell you when that exact point took place, and that doesn't matter, because it might happen for everybody at a different point. I don't know. But what I can tell you with complete and utter assurance is that having had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps, I now fully understand, believe, feel, and experience the presence of a power that is greater than me, that has ultimately restored me to sanity. It has removed the hopeless state of mind and body that we talk about in step 1. So yeah, if there's anybody in the room here that's new, that's returning, that doesn't get this God thing, then that's okay. Because when you get a sponsor, like Lois has recommended, like this group recommends in every single meeting, you get a sponsor and a big book and you work the steps as set out, as we're told to, like the desperation of a drowning man, not slowly, not over the course of 2, 3, 5 years. We work the steps like the desperation of a drowning man. This is where we gain access to the power. Okay, so my sponsor took me by the hand and placed it in the hand of the God of my understanding. Not the God of his understanding, the God of mine. So if you are new or are returning and you don't get the God thing, again, I emphasize, it's okay. You don't have to have a God to get started. And if you do have a God already before you get started, set aside every single thing you think you know. about the steps, about the program, about your addiction, about that God that you already have in order to have a new experience with God so that you may be shown the truth. Because whatever it is you have now, if you're still drinking and drugging, it's not working for you. And you may think you know what you need and you don't. So set aside every single thing you think you know in order to have a new experience with God so that you may be shown the truth. So every time I go into We Agnostics with a sponsee or into this meeting to talk about any part of this big book study, anytime I go to speak about a section of the book from Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm having a new experience every single time. Because there's no point in me rocking up in this meeting telling you something that I thought I knew from the experience that I had last night with the sponsee. Because that's the past. It doesn't exist. What we're having is a new experience every single time I open this book with you. So genuinely, I never have a clue what I'm going to talk about. Sometimes that concerns me because I can go down all sorts of wandering little paths. But ultimately, that's the new experience that I'm having with the power in this moment, because that truly is all that exists. You know, I do not fight alcohol. I do not fight alcohol one day at a time. I do not fight my addiction one day at a time. The problem has been removed. The problem has been solved. That's what it tells us on page 17, the very first paragraph, and there is a solution. We who were once as hopeless as Bill, because we've read Bill's story already. We've understood how he thought, how he drank, how he felt, and if this program can work for us too. I was absolutely 100% as hopeless as Bill, but because of doing what is suggested in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the problem has been removed in totality. It does not exist. The problem has been solved. 1 + 1 is 2. The mathematical problem has been solved. As you can tell, I'm not the sharpest tool in the box, so the mathematical sum 1 + 1 = 2 is the extent to which my solution of mathematical problems is at a very base level. But it's just an illustration. The problem has been solved. So as I'm moving into this chapter of We Agnostics, and I'm sitting with sponsees, or even here whilst I'm talking with you guys, this chapter brings every single one of us to agnosticism. It brings every single one of us to the place of not knowing or not willing to know or not willing to have an open mind. And it shares with us how at any given moment of the day, I can drop into agnostic temperament where I don't think this power can help me out. At any given moment of the day, I can step away from that power that is within me and decide to go with my own human resources, which we know from page 45 has failed us utterly. You know, you might be sitting here in this room with, I don't know how many years of sobriety, recovery. I don't know. Doesn't matter how many years you have, because you might be many, many years down the line, yet you're the unmanageability of your life in its current form as you wrapped around the axle. The drink and the drugs might have disappeared for many, many years. The problem might have been removed, but you're still living with the unmanageability of your thinking many, many years down the line. So where's the power in your life? You know? What is the power that you need in your life right now in this moment to see you through what it calls in Bill's story, you know, the trials, the certain trials and low spots ahead? Because it's certain that all of us at some point will continue to have absolute certainty that we will continue to have trials and low spots throughout our entire life. We're going to have those trials and those spots. So if you're sitting here now and you're thinking, I am going to get out of this little trial, or I'm going through a low spot right now, I ain't going to get out of this, even though you've got 15, 20, 25 years. How am I going to get out of that? Well, this is where we need to tap into your agnostic temperament and realize that more power is needed. And where are you to find that power? Well, that's exactly the purpose of this book. This power is going to enable you to gain access to. That's all this is about. Gain access to that power. Not my power. Not about anybody else's in this room's power. Access to the power of the God of your own idea, the God of your own conception. I'm not here to convince you that this program works. You need to be convinced yourself. What that means is you need to be moved by the evidence. How can you be moved by the evidence? Then you need to work through the book, 164 pages. Like, all I can say is that I'm no longer waiting for proof of a higher power. 100%, I am no longer waiting for proof of a higher power. But what I can tell you is that I am the proof of a higher power. And those people in this room that have recovered from a hopeless state of mind and body, who work this program, their daily reprieve every single day, 10, 11, and 12, they are no longer waiting for proof. They are the proof that there is a higher power. Think about that. But I'm not here to convince anybody that this program will work for them. You've got to work this with a sponsor. Last week, we covered up to the bottom of page 53. We had talked about that beautiful paragraph around the bridge of reason, those people that had stepped from bridge to shore. You know, the new land, the luster of tired eyes and fresh courage was there for the flagging spirits. Friendly hands and the fellowship had reached out in welcome. We'd stood on this bridge of reason. We were halfway across this little bridge. We didn't want to put our toe into the water. We were too afraid. We've gotten this far in the program and I'm okay standing halfway across this bridge. So my reason, my thinking is telling me, as an example, I've been away from drugs and alcohol for about 90 days, 60 days even. Things are starting to feel okay. So I'm just going to sit here and just watch everybody. I'm just going to sit here and not do the rest of the program. I'm just going to sit here and not get a sponsor. I'm loving life coming to these meetings. I've met a load of mates and they're great and we hug each other and they welcome me to these meetings and we go to coffee shops and we have amazing lattes covered with chocolate and nutmeg and cinnamon and life is wonderful. I'm just going to sit in this little bridge halfway across because my life is great. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. And see, when the drink and the drugs returns, we'll be here to say, welcome back. We'll be here to say, we've been waiting for you. Because just sitting halfway across that bridge of reason, without a program, without a sponsor, without having a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps, you can guarantee your addiction will return. And it will return worse than ever before. Like it says on page 31, after every relapse, it gets worse. Never better. So sit on the bridge of reason and continue to work out what this is all about. Continue to come to the meetings and work out that this Irish woman sitting here every Saturday is a bit woo-woo, what she's saying. You know, try and work out what I'm talking about. You know, try to compare that you're not the same as me or that you are the same as me and this isn't going to work for you. Well, if it's not going to work for you, why do you keep coming here every Saturday and taking up the seat? If it's not going to work for you, why are you sitting here trying to work it out? Because I wouldn't be sitting in the fellowship listening to a woo-woo Irish person every Saturday if I didn't think it was going to work for me. I'd be off somewhere else. Because here's the thing. There must be something that's going to work for you. Or you wouldn't be here every Saturday listening to this. There must be something that we're saying that you know that you need. You might not be able to work it out, and the reality of it is there is nothing for you to work out. Just do what we have to do. And the writers of this book know what we are like. I just love the fact that they know what we are like because they're us. They've had this bitter experience. They understand why I sat on the bridge of reason halfway across for a period of time thinking that I knew better. Because they did that themselves, potentially. They go on at this last paragraph to say, sitting on this bridge of reason or standing on this bridge of reason, afraid to put our toe into the water. You know, I think I ended last week on the fact that with this program, it's a lot of it could a little bit afraid of what's going to happen to you. Certainly, I had lots of blind faith when I started out on this. My sponsor was talking to me about the God of his understanding, and I wasn't really understanding what he was talking about. But what he told me was to have faith in the process. That I didn't even have to have faith in a God of my understanding because I didn't even know what I was talking about, what I was thinking about. Just have faith in the process. Keep showing up. Keep on turning the pages. Let the book do the work. And in doing that and having faith in that, something happened. At some point, something clicked. And I can't tell you when it happened. I can tell you though that it did. So in the last paragraph on 53, they say that was natural. So it's natural to think that the bridge of reason is going to be enough for you. It's natural to feel that you're halfway across and you're sitting in the rooms 90 days and you haven't picked up. And the frothy coffees with the cinnamon, the nutmeg and the chocolates, great, wonderful. All sounds wonderful. Coming to your meetings and people hugging you and thinking that everything's going to be okay. That's natural that you think that that's going to be enough. But let us think a little bit more closely. When we're talking about this faith thing, they want to encourage us to come across the bridge. They want to encourage us to leave our reasoning, to leave our thinking, and perhaps take a different approach to it. But what they're also acknowledging is this, without knowing it. Think about this yourself. Without knowing it, had we not been brought to where we stood by a certain kind of faith? So you might be sitting here thinking, I don't have a faith in God. These people are all crazy. Okay. What has brought you to be standing here? Is it not some kind of faith that has brought you to this meeting every Saturday to listen to me? To listen to everybody share back their experience? Is that not faith? For did we not believe in? They're asking you a question. Do you not believe in your own reasoning? Do you not believe in your own thinking that you're coming here every Saturday and something's working? Or you're listening to this every Saturday and something's working? Did we not have confidence in our ability to think? You think a lot and make the right decisions in other parts of your life. So why wouldn't you just put a little bit of thinking and a little bit of faith and, you know what, there could be something here and that actually, yeah, maybe there is something else that I need here. And what was that but a sort of faith? I showed up at my home group every week thinking, these people are nuts. You know, that person on Monday, book study, when we were on page 16 of Bill's story, and he said, oh, I love this part of the book. And then on the Thursday book study, we were in, you know, chapter 6 into action, and he would say, oh, I love this part of the book too. And I'm looking at him going, well, how can you love this part of the book when you love the other part of the book on Monday? You're crazy. But I kept showing up and listening to him because I had faith in something about what he was saying. I had faith in his demeanor. I had faith in his attitude, this happy-go-lucky, smiley, extravagant, wonderful person who I would never have come across outside of the rooms. You know, we were normally people that would not mix. I wouldn't have mixed with this guy. yet he's one of the bestest friends in the world that I have now. You know, there was some sort of faith in his demeanour, his whole deportment, like it says at the bottom of page 18, shouted that he was a man with a real answer to the problem that I had. He had the solution, and he certainly had a God of his own understanding in his life, that was for sure. But he didn't throw it down my throat. He just demonstrated his principles every time he came into the room. Because here's the thing. Think about this for yourself, because God gave you a brain to use. Think about this in a reasonable way. Yes, we had been faithful, abjectly faithful to the God of reason. That's capitalized. It is another word for God. We had been faithful to the God of reason, of working things out and all of that. So in one way or another, we discovered, like discovering treasure at the bottom of the sea. Not that I've ever done that before, but please go with the metaphor. We discovered that faith had been involved all the time. So if you're sitting here as a newcomer or a returner, or you're in that agnostic temperament and you don't have faith that the problems that you're having in your life right now are going to be sorted out, then set aside every single thing you think you know. Because in your life, faith has been there all along. It's like when we talked about the assumption that when I switch on the light on the wall, that the light is going to come from the bulb above my head. I have that assumption. But at the same time, when I flick the switch, I have faith that the light is going to turn on. Faith is present in my life everywhere. I have faith when I leave this meeting that the bus is going to arrive at the bus stop on time because the timetable says so. I have faith that that is going to happen. I have faith that my friend is going to be where he's going to be because we've arranged to meet at the place that they're going to be. I have faith that my friend is going to turn up. Faith is everywhere in my life. That's how simple it is. So if you think you can't have a faith in a God that you don't understand, whatever, get over it. The bridge of reason, get over it. Blind faith, dip your toe in the water. Anything is possible. Not just anything is possible, everything is possible. And so they go on. I love, love, love this paragraph because this was me. And think about yourself as we go through this. And this is the Agnostics. Remember the chapters called the Agnostics. The Agnostics that wrote this chapter, remember from the beginning, they're telling us that more than half of them used to be agnostics. And then something shifted in them, something changed. They're telling us now, and I can certainly say from the bottom of my heart, this is what happened with me too as I went through this process, this paragraph. It was like, oh my God. We found too that we have been worshippers. And what a state of mental goose flesh that used to bring on. You know that aha moment? You know that, oh my God, it's just dawned on me. I have had faith in my life. I have been living by faith all along and nothing else. And you know what? Oh my God, I have been a worshipper of things. You know, those little moments where you get those goosebumps and the hairs on your arms stand up and you go, oh my, that moment of realization that, oh my God, I'm looking at all of you people in the rooms, pointing at you, judging you, giving you an opinion on you about what you do and what you don't do, rather than looking at what you were pointing me towards, which was the God of my own understanding. Looking at you, thinking that you were all worshipping each other and worshipping this crazy God thing and just making it out to be something that it wasn't. But yet, in my life, here's the thing. Had we not variously worshipped people? 100%. Sentiment? Absolutely. Things. Material things? Absolutely. Money and ourselves. Have you not been worshipping all that stuff? All of that external stuff? All of that physical world stuff? All of that third dimension of existence stuff? Had you not been worshipping all of that? I want to look like that girl at work. I want to have the money that they have. My life's never going to be happy until I have what they have. I'm not going to be able to do that because they're better than me. Putting people on pedestals, worshipping them. I can't have this program like Max has it. Worshipping what people are saying, hanging on everybody else's words. You know, falling in love with somebody, apparently. Thinking they were the best thing since sliced bread. Then they leave. And then we wonder why our lives is falling apart. We worshipped individuals. The boss who we worshipped then leaves the organization. My job becomes diabolical. I can't survive in this organization because I worshipped that individual, put them on a pedestal. You know, all of these external things, they're just a couple of examples that are coming to my mind right now. They're not necessarily things that I've experienced in my life, you know. So think about that. Have you not been worshipping all of these things? Have you not been worshipping people around you, money, things? Have you not been worshipping yourself and how good you are? You know, I go to these meetings sometimes and people talk about specific CA speakers and specific AA speakers. Well, such and such says, great. If such and such says that, don't quote anything I ever say. Please don't. Such and such says, and that's the way that he does it. Yeah, that's the way he does it. That's the way that he required it in his life. That might not be what you need in your life. So take on board, absolutely, but set aside every single thing you think you know about what that person is saying for you to have the new experience with the God of your understanding. We can't worship people in any walk of life. But here's the thing, and then with a better motive, had we not worshipfully beheld the sunset, the sea, or a flower? That's Belfast for flower, just in case anybody doesn't understand. Sometimes I say the words really, it's funny, I giggle to myself. In Belfast we say power, but when I'm on here I say power, so that people understand what I'm saying. But we say flower, as in flower. Anyway, you didn't need to know all of that guff. So what they're saying here is basically, even if you don't think you worship yourself, the money, the sentiment and things, and you're not worshipping a God, think of those precious moments when you're out in nature and you see that sunset, the sea, or a flower. You know, those moments where you see those precious, precious things in life where you go, wow, wow. Those beautiful moments that stick with you. Those beautiful moments where more often than not people whip out their phones to take a photograph of it. We don't stay present in the moment. We take the photograph to share it with everybody else. Yet in a beat, if we were to take a breath, instead of taking out the phone and immerse ourselves in the vision that is in front of us, something else might click. Something else might drop in when you take that breath. How much do these feelings, these loves, these worships have to do with pure reason? Life can't be just pure reason. Life can't be just about thinking and working it all out and, you know, science and let's do another investigation. Let's pour more money into getting things sorted out. You know, there has to be something more. Well, that's what I think anyway, you know. Science will always reveal more and more. Of course it will. It's an important part of life. These really intelligent people that are getting under the bonnet of things to sort problems out, whether that be, the climate or health or whatever, it's all very important thing. I'm not diminishing anything that they do, but when it comes to our life, when it comes to our addiction, we don't need to understand what the sciences are doing about world climate and health. What we need to understand is that there's no medical anywhere, any person in the medical fraternity that can help us with our addiction. We are beyond medical aid. That's what we got to understand. We know that from step one. So climate change and whatever else is happening, that ain't got anything to do with the God of your understanding and your addiction. It goes on to say that. What did all of that feelings, loves, worships have to do with pure reason? Little. Nothing. We saw it last. Because here's the thing. We're not these things, the tissue out of which our lives were constructed. If you think about all of the things in our lives that we have, all of the thoughts that we have, all of the beliefs that we have, every single interaction that we have in our lives, they're just layers and layers and layers and layers of layers and layers and layers of the tissue of our makeup. All of the experience that I have in my life of layers of stuff, literally, is what I use to construct my life. To create who I think I am. What you've done to me is a layer of the tissue in my makeup. I'm the victim. That's the tissue and the layer of my makeup. All of the jobs and interactions and all of that, they're the tissues and the layers of my makeup. Every single thing, every single experience, it's being constructed into what I believe is my life and who I'm supposed to be. So did these feelings, after all, determine the course of our existence? All my life I've constructed this. All my life I've had faith that I'm going in the right direction. All my life I've had my family around me. I've trusted them. I've had faith in them. All my life I've been working and I've trusted that I'm going to have an income. All my life I've had friendships. All of this construction of my life is my existence. And it was therefore impossible to say we had no capacity for faith or love or worship. Because through the construction of all of that in my life, in one form or another, we had been living by faith and little else. Isn't that a miracle? So you're sitting here thinking you've got no faith in God. Yet all your life has been constructed with a faith in something to get you to this point. And I repeat, you still think you've got no faith or capacity to have faith in a God of your own understanding? Give yourself a break. Because they then go on to say, imagine life without faith. Imagine life without faith. Imagine me going to the bus stop having no faith that the bus was going to show up. Like, I know that's a really stupid example, but what would be the point in going to the bus stop? Imagine life without faith. Can you imagine if I bought, I used to worship this pop group back in the day, right? I worshipped them. My room was covered. Yes, people, I am this old. My bedroom was covered in posters galore. The posters were on the ceiling. Like, seriously, I shared a bedroom with my sister. She wasn't getting a look in. She didn't even have a 1-inch square for her pop group. No, not even. I used to spend a fortune on this group. Fortune. Anyway, this is a random one, but I ended up, about 10 years ago, this group reformed again, and I managed to get tickets, but I had to use my credit card to pay that's when I had a credit card. I don't have a credit card now because I haven't got great, financial situation because of my drinking and drugging. But back in the day when I had a credit card, I was able to afford to pay the credit card. I booked tickets, I put my credit card details into the system and I got the tickets and I went to see the best group ever in the world, right? That's my opinion. You don't have to agree. Anyway, I had faith that when I put the credit card details into the flipping system that I was going to get the tickets and I would go to the concert. It's a really stupid example, but that's the basic level of faith. Imagine life without faith. Put my credit card details in and not having the faith that the tickets were going to arrive. Sure, that wouldn't be life, would it? That's how simple this is. Yet we're all sitting here trying to work out, this faith thing. What does this mean? Shut up, Mags. Just do what it tells you to do in here and you'll be great. I am no longer waiting for proof of a higher power. No, in any respect of my life, I'm still no longer waiting for the proof of a higher power. I am the proof that there is one. I'm alive. Alcohol has been removed. The problem has been solved. End of. Imagine life without faith. We're nothing left but pure and utter reason. It wouldn't be life. Can you imagine if we were just our thinking all the time, trying to work it out? Jeez, what heavy going that would be. But we believed in life. Of course we did. We have to believe in life. We could not prove life in the sense that you can prove a straight line is the shortest distance between 2 points. But there it is. How can I prove life other than we're all sitting on this screen? We all look different. We all live in different parts of the world. We all work differently. We all think differently. But yeah, the shortest point between the 2 lines is this. Okay, well, I accept that. Got nothing else to prove. Could we still say the whole thing was nothing but a mass of electrons created out of nothing, meaning nothing, whirling on to a destination of nothingness? Ask yourself all those questions. Could you just sit here and say that we're all here just for nothing? Why are we all making this effort to come here on a Saturday morning? Why are we making any effort to get up out of bed? Do you know what I mean? For nothing? I don't think so. Life is more than that. We're all a demonstration of that. Because here's the thing, could we say it was destiny of nothingness? Of course we couldn't. Of course we couldn't. The electrons themselves seem more intelligent than that. At least so the chemist said. I don't know what the electrons are saying. I don't really care what the electrons are saying. I depend on the chemist telling me that. I don't need to know the electrons and what they do and how they move. Remember, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The electrons that make up the steel girder that is in the extension of my kitchen are the same electrons that I need for my teacup. They're the same electrons that make up this telephone that I'm holding in my hand. I don't care how they're made up. The chemist can tell me whatever he wants. I just want to be able to use the phone, the kitchen roof to stay up and to drink the cup of tea. That's all I need to know. End of story. Move on. Because here's the thing. This is where they're starting to shift. Hence, we saw that reason isn't everything. You could be sitting here trying to work this all out, but your reasoning isn't everything. Because the reality of it is, with all due respect, you ain't got any clue what you need right now. Neither is reason, as most of us use it, entirely dependable, though it emanates from our best minds. The chemists, the scientists, the teachers, the doctors, the psychiatrists, it emanates from our best minds. Absolutely. We are dependable on those very talented and gifted individuals, right? But sometimes even their reasoning can't help us. We're beyond medical aid. Hopeless. Still 90 years after this book has been written, there isn't a scientific or medical scenario for us to overcome. Because here's the thing, what about people who proved that man could never fly? We talked about the Wright brothers a couple of weeks ago. Somebody in the world proved that man could never fly. They argued with the Wright brothers. Yes, they had a few failed attempts where their flight went into the Potomac River, but ultimately, flight is now a natural thing that is expanding so much in this world that it's scary that you'll be able to fly to space in the not too distant future. I don't need to know when that's going to happen. I don't need to know how it's going to happen. But what about those people that proved that man could never fly? They were shot down, weren't they? Their idea was proved to be not right. Their idea that there was never going to be any flight certainly changed very quickly through the blind faith, childish faith that the Wright brothers had. You might have complete and utter blind faith or childish faith that has taken you somewhere else. And that's all you need right now. Faith in the process. Faith that there might be something. Faith that what I'm saying to you is actually the truth. Because it is the truth. Because I'm taking it from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is the only place that you'll find the truth about what you suffer from and how you can overcome it. And it's the only place that you will find how you can gain access to the power that will solve your problem. And these agnostics are changing now. They're changing here. Here's the thing. Yet we had seen another kind of flight. A spiritual liberation from this world. A spiritual freedom from this physical world. This third dimension of existence. They had seen a spiritual freedom, liberation from this world. They were seeing people who rose above their problems. That is an exceptionally important line. Who rose above their problems. Because here's the thing. I can't sort out my problem at the level of the problem. When I am in the problem with my thinking, with my self-will, with my self-determination, I cannot solve the problem at the level of the problem. What this program has enabled me to do is to give me a set of spiritual tools that enables me to rise above the problem and see it from an entirely different angle. A spiritual liberation in this fourth dimension of existence, where I am guided, where I am led, where I am provided direction, power, strength, love from somewhere else. As I sit here with you on this Saturday morning, the 30th of August, 2025, I have in my mind so many problems right now that need worked out about where my life is going, what I need to do, who's in my life, who's not in my life, what my job's going to be, what my family situation is going to be, what my financial situation is going to be, where I'm going to be living, da 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 da. I could add to the list ad infinitum. In my mind, I have a curse word load of problems. Yet, see all those problems? Whilst I'm sitting here with you, they don't exist. In reality, I haven't got one single problem in this world, on this planet, in this universe. I have no problems. Because see, whilst I'm doing this and whilst I'm here with you, and it also might feel that I'm waiting on the problems being sorted out, I ain't waiting. Whilst I'm doing this, God's sorting all that. All those problems are not mine. I'm making them up in my head the majority of times. There are no problems. In this third dimension of existence, I have been given a set of tools that enable me to rise above these problems And you know the reason why? It's set out in this paragraph, and this is true. God's honest truth from the bottom of my heart. They said God made these things possible. 100%. God makes these things possible where the problems that I have racing around in my head don't exist. And what do you guys do? Smile. Because Mags thinks that she doesn't have any problems. Of course she has problems, and you're sitting here smiling at me thinking, yeah, whatever, Mags. No, please believe this to be true. Please know this to be true. I ain't got any of those problems that I'm making up in my head, because whilst I'm doing this, God's sorting all those problems out. Because in the not too distant future, you know, you'll be making the decision to hand your will and your life over to the care of God as you understand Him. And listen to those words. Step 3, made a decision to hand your will and your life. My life is God's. Whatever's going to happen in my life is going to happen because I've made that decision. Because the reality of it is, these agnostics are saying we had seen spiritual release, but liked to tell ourselves it wasn't true. So everything that I'm talking about, everything that I have been talking about over the last number of weeks, I can tell you now that the spiritual release that has happened within me over the course of the period of time that I've given myself 100% to this program, have been all in, have been immersed in those 36 spiritual principles, have been right in the center of those 36 spiritual principles, in my own recovery, in supporting other alcoholics, and doing my 12-step work, and being part of my home group, and being of service. I am telling you now, the spiritual release that has happened as a result of that is phenomenal. Phenomenal. To the extent where I don't even recognize the life that I had before. I don't regret that past. I don't regret that life. Absolutely not. 100% it got me to where I am today. All the trials, the certain low spots, the tribulations that I went through got me to be here today to be able to help you. So see all of that bullshit that you're telling yourself, seriously, that this program's not going to work for you. What are you doing sitting here listening to this then if it's not going to work for you? Because there has to be some sort of faith in you that you believe that it will. Don't take up the space for somebody else that needs it. Stay in these rooms. Do what is suggested. Get a sponsor. Work the program like the desperation of the drowning man, and you will have full-blown recovery, not just relief from alcohol. You will have full-blown recovery where you will not recognize the life. Like I said to you last week, just take a breath, take a moment, do what is suggested, and give up the life that you are currently sitting in now, in misery, in despair, in addiction, and go to the one that is waiting for you. Because it's there for the taking. Faith. Blind faith. Childish faith. Whatever faith. It doesn't matter. And I'll leave it at that.